You even have one of my all-time greats, my heroes, Arnold Schwarzenegger, lined up for a movie, which, by the way, there was a possible role I was going to get in that movie.
You were?
Yeah, for the role of John. If you remember the script, I'm sure you do.
Of course I do.
But John was the role because there was something there was a little angle that I had there, and I was going to help out with stuff, and John would have been the role. And I was like, oh my God, this is a dream come true. I'm going to be in a Schwarzenegger movie. And then things fell through at the time. But he's one of my favorites. But you've also worked with everybody. De Niro and Vince Vaughn and Cillian Murphy, who's Oppenheimer. He's amazing in Oppenheimer. Elizabeth Olsen, who's in everything. Yep. If you look at her Facebook, it's like a who's who of Hollywood. You're with everybody on there. I could just keep scrolling through there. It's like going through like the Academy of Motion Pictures, just seeing everybody. You did very bad things.
I did.
No, the movie.
In a lot of different ways, I've done very bad things.
I'm talking about the movie, yes. In real life, sweetheart, and also throws a lot of great parties also. But no, and the movie, Very Bad Things, which is one of my favorites from way back in the day. Favreau, Cameron Diaz, Christian Slater, and Peter Berg. Yeah. Give me one of the takeaways from that movie.
We were the Hangover before the Hangover. I like to say we started that kind of film. And it was Peter Berg's first directorial.
He directed it also.
He directed it.
Well, he was in the movie and directed it.
No, he wasn't.
Oh, he directed the movie.
Peter had never directed a movie before. Peter and I met, and that movie was really the two of us calling friends that both of us knew and putting this whole movie together. I love Christian Slater. Peter called Cameron, and I had met Jon Favreau, who came to one of my parties with Vince Vaughn. And Danny Stern is a really good friend of mine. I think Peter then bought Jeremy Piven, and the movie just ended up being as iconic as you come.
Speaking of Favreau, when I first started doing comedy, I moved from New York to Chicago. I was on Favreau's improv team.
Oh my God.
When I first moved to Chicago.
One of the greatest, nicest guys.
Oh my God. So talented, so nice, so great.
One of the good guys that I'm really is glad.
So intelligent. Look what he did with the Disney, with the Marvel universe, with Star Wars and Iron Man. Exactly. Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2. Yeah. I mean, he is a powerhouse.
I think as a producer, you have to have a lot of strengths. You have to be able to jive and move at all times. I have a knack of finding commercial projects. So that's first and foremost, is identifying the projects. I'm lucky enough that I know talent, so I can get them. And I'm lucky enough that I know financiers. And some of the studio heads are really good friends of mine. And so altogether, it's a great team. And I have a way like you. I have a background in psychology. And so
Tulane and Harvard. I do my research.
There you go. I literally like to think I'm a set whisperer. I have a way to calm people down that, might be in a situation where you think it's about to explode. So many people are desperate in so many different ways. And a lot of people approach projects as if it's the only one they're ever going to do.
Right.
And so they're so busy trying to steal from sets or overly make an egotistical move, and it's to their downfall. I look at every project, be it with an actor or a director or a financier, as something long-term. My family raised me right, and I'm never going to put someone in a situation I wouldn't want to be in myself. Everybody that I've ever worked with has usually turned out to be a long-term friend. Yeah. And I want to work with most of them again.
It's funny you say that because a lot of people do. They think this is my one chance. I'm going to make $1 million and not worry about anything. And if I screw people over, that's just a part of the business. But no, you look at it as this is one of the many things I'm going to do, and I have done, and I will do. Like, subscribe, comment. Give me a behind-the-scenes story of a movie that you were on, that either something funny or something that like almost ruined the project or just saved the project at the last second. Do you have any stories?
I mean, when I shot the Oliver Stone movie called Savior with Dennis Quaid, the war broke out the first day of our filming. The Milosevic government was in the middle of their uprising. In fact, the day I landed in Serbia was the big student uprising, and nobody could even find me for over 24 hours because I was stuck with all these students that were protesting. But we literally had tanks coming down the street, had to move our production immediately to a small town in Serbia, and it was quite the challenge. So you never know what you're going to face. I financed the company, found our first movie, attached our first actors to it, and the distribution company was born. I would find the projects and Graham would sell them. And we were a great team.
Wow. And then you sold that? You got out at a certain time?
Sold the movie right before September 11th. I did not know. People were like, how'd you know? How did I know what?
Hey, wait a minute.
I was lucky enough to sell it on an Oscar-winning project.
Was that Traffic?
It was Traffic. got 4 Oscar nominations and helped me sell my company.
Isn't that crazy? That's crazy. Now, Traffic wasn't an expensive movie, or was it like a mid-range movie? Was that a studio movie?
Mid-range. It was amazing because people were like, oh my God, Traffic, how'd you get it? How'd you get it? Traffic was around for 11 years.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to make Traffic.
Wow.
You know, nobody had seen a movie like Traffic at the time. And it had a totally different cast when I got it. It was a lot more expensive. And I think at one point, Nicolas Cage was attached and Tommy Lee Jones was attached.
Wow.
And then we kind of rejiggered the whole budget. And then it became Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones and the rest of them. And it was, to me, Steven Soderbergh's best movie.
If I say Miracle on 42nd Street, what does that mean to you?
An amazing documentary that got an Emmy, which you didn't say when you said my credits. But
I
yeah,
know.
we got an Emmy.
When I first said Emmy Award
it's all
winning, I
good.
should have said
It
it's from
saved it for
the.
something
I knew I was going
else
to say it
to
for
say.
later in the thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you won an Emmy on that. And what is that about?
Fascinating. There is a building in New York City that was originally created down in the worst areas of New York and right outside of Harlem. They created this building because they wanted to gentrify the area. And so they figured if they spent all this money and built this gorgeous building with everything from tennis courts to studios to anything that any of the uber rich would ever want, that the rich would come. And the building sat empty for years and people were like, that's great. We're not moving down there. So the building sat empty for years and nobody knew what to do with it. And one day there was, I think it was a congressman, and he decided that wouldn't it be interesting if we could make this a building of the arts? We'll actually audition actors and musicians to get their apartment. And in return, we'll take 10% of their earnings. And at least we'll be able to get people in the building and gentrify the area through the arts. The incredible thing is some of the biggest people that we know did just that. Christian Slater, his family, Mickey Rourke, Sam Jackson was the security guard, by the way.
He's in everything.
Seinfeld was created in this building.
Really? Like, subscribe, comment.
Same thing with producers. I had someone say to me the other day, but don't you make at least $1 million a movie? I wish. No, I don't. You know, everybody thinks everybody else is making a lot.
Right.
As a producer, I don't even get health insurance. I mean, I look at all the other guilds that get health insurance.
Right, you're right.
We don't. It's kind of antiquated, the business. Like, by the way, this might be a year or 2 years of development. Do you know that the average producer makes $25,000 to develop a project by a studio? And that's never changed. And that is so antiquated to me.
Yes.
Because I'm going to bring a writer on that could make anywhere from $500,000 to a couple million.
Right.
And he's going to develop it the same way I am. I'm going to develop that project, sometimes page by page with him. At some point, I hope that Hollywood realizes the value of producers. And I think a lot of producers and the credit has been so diluted by different managers or different intermediate, people
intermediaries,
taking the same credit as someone like me who literally finds the project, develops it, sits on the set, and sits in the editing room until it's delivered.
If somebody said, okay, take $5 million and invest in movies, how would you disperse the money? Would you do it all in one movie that had a big star, a big budget? Or would you do it in several different movies? Would you put X amount? How would you do it?
I'd probably take $2 million each and put those in 2 movies that might be anywhere from $5 to $8 million.
Mm-hmm.
And the equity would be the $2 million piece. You'll still have actors. I would not put $5 million into a $5 million movie unless it was an actor's project and you were getting the actor so inexpensively because it was an actor, director, whatever.
Gotcha.
People don't realize that you can put $2 million of equity into an $8 million movie. You're the equity in it.
Right.
So you're in a much bigger movie. And then I might take the additional $1 million and option some more projects that I would do later on.
Like, subscribe, comment.